Hello, and welcome to this tips and tutorials video on Fury, our latest distortion designer plugin. My name is Alejandro, and in this video I'm going to break down the shape page, which contains controls for fine-tuning your distortion to make Fury work for you no matter what your audio source is. The shape page features a set of controls that allows you to adapt the behavior of Fury, as well as some useful tools to get your distortion sitting right where you want it in the mix. These controls are laid out in the order they appear in the signal chain. On the left are the pre-distortion effects. In the middle are the character controls, which adjust the distortion itself. And at the end are the post-distortion cleanup EQs. The top section of the shape page includes an FFT display showing you the frequency content of the input and the distorted signal, which can be a really helpful tool for showing you how much the effect is changing the harmonic content of your sound. The input is colored orange, while the distortion is displayed in red. The first section is the stereo control, which offers a mid-side button that allows you to switch the effect from standard stereo to mid-side mode, in which the mono content is processed separately from the stereo or side, which is sometimes known as the sum and difference. The balance knob gives pre-distortion control over the balance between the two channels. This is especially useful in mid-side mode, as adjusting the gain of the channels before distortion will alter the perceived stereo width of the sound. Try it on stereo sources, like a drum bus or a stereo synth patch, like so. The next part of the chain is the gate, which can be used as a standard noise gate with the amount set to 100%, or you can reduce the amount and turn it into an expander. This allows you to control the dynamics of the sound before it gets distorted, which can change the response of the distortion or be used to retain the dynamics after the natural hard compression that distortion applies to a signal. The input EQ is a simple two-band EQ that has two main modes, filter and shelf, each with two sub-modes. In filter mode, you have a pair of gentle low-cut and high-cut filters. In shelf mode, you have fixed EQ and low EQ shelves, which act kind of like a Baxandall EQ. Both of these modes have a makeup option, which applies a complementary EQ after the distortion. So if you were to boost the highs before the distortion, the makeup EQ would apply the opposing high cut to compensate. A useful way to use this is to cut the bass before the distortion and use the makeup to bring it back afterwards. This stops the bass from dominating over the higher frequencies, creating a muddy distortion, but also avoids losing the bass altogether. In the character section, you have direct control over the distortion itself. The character knob has a different function depending on which distortion module you have selected. For example, with many of the clipping and groove modules, it acts as an asymmetry control. For the metal module, it controls the intensity of the distortion tone shaping. And with the Delta Crush module, it controls the sample rate of the algorithm. In all cases, the zero position is considered the neutral starting position. As such, this control will reset when you change modules. Above the character knob, you have a feedback control. Depending on the module selected, this can act as a subtle tone control or lead to full-blown squealing. Due to this unstable nature, we have added a control for routing the gate control signal to the feedback signal. This way, you can prevent any unwanted feedback when the input is quiet. After all of this sonic mayhem, you might need to clean this up a bit. This is why we have developed some easy-to-use combined EQs and filters to create the cleanup controls. There are two areas for the cleanup: the mud, which is the low and low-mid frequencies, and the shrill, which mainly occupies the high frequencies. For each of these cleanup areas, you can define a central frequency to focus on and then dial in the intensity of the effect. Fury is a complete one-stop shop for all your distortion needs, and the shape page is where you can sculpt the finer details of your sound. If you enjoy the contents of this video, let us know in the comments below and give it a like and share. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our tips and tutorials and releases videos. For more information, visit Heavyocity.com.